Good afternoon, I'm Tim Carrico.
And I'm Courtney Kendabi, and we're following the very latest right now on this water crisis impacting 9 counties in our area right here on 13 News. We're also on standby right now for a press conference. We're expecting an update. So let's talk about first. Here's what we know right now. A chemical leak is impacting at least 100,000 West Virginia American Water customers.
A product called methylcyclohexane methanol, known in the industry as crude MCHM, used in the process of coal washing and preparation, leaked into the Elk River. Officials say the chemicals come from the Freedom Industries sometime Thursday morning. Governor Earl Ray Tomblin issued a state of emergency Thursday night for 9 counties. Residents in impacted areas should only use the water right now to flush the toilets.
And you're about to see a map here. Here is a map that was given to us by West Virginia American Water. If you live in any of the blue areas you see there on this map, we're told it's still right now not safe to use your water. We do have several crews working to gather information around the region right now. Our partners at the State Journal are also investigating this. We checked with the EPA, who tell us they haven't found any environmental violations for Freedom Industries and its 2 affiliate companies listed on their website, Etowah River Terminal and Poca Blending Company, in their records. Now, this is the company who actually had the chemical leak, and this record goes back 5 years. The EPA also says it hasn't found any historical federal violations for these companies either.
And we still want to remind you that we are awaiting the governor press conference. That should take place any minute, and we will bring that to you in just a matter of moments. Now, we want to warn you about the dangers of this water. If you have ingested some of the water, you should possibly check with a doctor because you could possibly become sick. We have talked to a doctor at the West Virginia Poison Control Center who says if you drank some of the tap water from the affected areas and you do have symptoms, you should be okay as long as you do not drink any more. Here are the symptoms that you need to watch out for. This includes nausea, vomiting, and a burning sensation and severe eye irritation. If you experience any of these symptoms, call the Poison Control Center at 1-800-222-1222 or go see a health professional.
FEMA is also working right now to pass out water to people in our area. President Barack Obama signed an emergency declaration making federal disaster aid available to people who are impacted right now in our region. FEMA actually received a shipment of water at Yeager Airport last night. They are passing that out today.
In terms of seeing it related to a chemical incident where the water is not potable for such a narrow reason, such a narrow commodity, it's the first time I've seen something like this since I've been with FEMA.
The governor had declared the state of emergency earlier yesterday, and we were ready to respond to the task that he gave us.
A lot of people are stepping up to help right now, and FEMA will be working with the National Guard to bring the water to those distribution sites. We have those listed on our website if you need them, WOWK-TV.com.
The city of Milton was also giving out free water to those who needed it. Residents just had to bring their own containers and proof of residence. The mayor of Milton says this community needs to do their part to help people dealing with the water crisis.
It is very important for us to do this because you never know, it may happen to us one of these days, and we would expect, the same from them, which I know they would. And we're just, like I say, we just want to be a good community partner, help out everybody. If the people that we could possibly help out, that's the ones we want to help out.
And for a complete list of places you can get water, be sure to go to our website at WOWK-TV.com as well as our Facebook page.
And a local water bottling company in Cabell County stepped up production, also lowered their prices on their cases of canisters of water. Lesage Natural Wells in Lesage opened up early Friday morning. They're staying late. They're working today and Sunday if they need to. They're bottling this water, labeling it, and then shipping it out as fast as they can.
We are swamped right now. We're getting calls from Charleston. Actually, our Simply Water company has called to offer to help us on deliveries and trying to keep up with the process of it all.
They're following this situation with all of us, really, and they'll decide how long they need to stay open. If you're interested, they're located at 7830 Ohio River Road in Lesage. Continuing our coverage now, our live coverage, Ariel Rothfield is on standby. She's outside of the Capitol where we're all waiting right now on a conference with an update on the situation.
Courtney, you're absolutely right. We're outside of the Capitol where we're awaiting a press conference. Now, we don't know exactly what's going to be spoken about there, but I can tell you that representatives from FEMA, the governor's office, and the West Virginia American Water Company are here. Again, we're not really sure what's happening, but we do have a crew inside that will stream the press conference live when it happens, and we're going to keep covering this for you, telling you as much information as we know when we get it. Again, press conference, we're on on standby right now. We don't know what they're going to talk about, and we'll let you know the latest when it happens. Reporting outside of the Capitol, I'm Ariel Rawfield, 13 News, working for you.
Ariel, thank you. Like she said, we are awaiting a press conference right now at the governor's office in the state capitol complex. It was scheduled for 2:30, so we're running about 5 minutes late. We'll bring that to you as soon as the press conference gets underway. Now, social media has played a major role in alerting the public about the water crisis.
And Chief Meteorologist Spencer Adkins is following the latest on social media. I also wanted to ask you, Spencer, about how the rain today will affect the situation.
Yeah, well, we had about, well, let's see, at the airport, 0.64 inches, so 0.6, a little bit more than that of an inch of rain, and that's a lot of extra rain. We're going to touch on that in just a moment, but again, you know, we've kind of gone back and forth. The first night there was a lot of trepidation and fear and anxiety, and then we kind of got to, okay, let's relax. And now we're going back and forth from, all right, you know, what's next, to, all right, well, now we're a little upset, and then, well, we can kind of laugh a little bit about this. And I'm seeing all these different emotions coming out on social media. But one thing that's been a nice thread throughout all of this as we wait for this press conference is seeing the community help. Let me show you a picture. This is from my Facebook friend Jenny Harless in Marmette today. And people just helping people. This was at the community center, and they had the water there. And apparently, according to Jenny's latest report, they went through that. But more is on the way. So that was one just great photo. And again, this was at Polka High today. And this was shared with the 13 News page, and you can certainly do that. You can tweet us at any of the 13 News accounts, any of us that have them. You'll see them on the screen throughout the day, and of course Facebook as well. Let me show you some numbers here now. A couple of quick calculations. I know there's a lot of numbers on the screen. This is at Queen Shoals, which is up from the spot where the leak was, and on Thursday the flow of the river was at 2,320 cubic feet per second. What does that mean? Well, in gallons, that's 17,354 gallons per second. That's a lot of water coming by. And then with the rain, which was 0.6 of an inch of rain, well, we saw 3,250 cubic feet per second. That's more. That's today. So now we're up to 24,000 gallons of water per second are flowing down. That flows down into the canal, where it jumps to literally closer to 1 million gallons. And so you can see how the product could be diluted. Let me share one more frame here if I can get to that one. And this is the West Virginia American water page. This will be hard to read, so you don't have to leave that on the screen for very long. But they put out a release at 2 o'clock, and basically it begins to outline a framework for this to conclude. But the framework is going to take some time, and they indicate as breaking news to us here in their statement, and I can read that to you, that this could be days when they start the flushing, and it will be stage by stage. Quote, concentric flushing beginning at a central location and moving out to the far ends of the distribution system is expected to take several days, but it will not be simultaneous based on the construction of the system. Translation, we have to do that in stages. So that was something that just broke on social media, a rather effective use of it at this point, and hopefully all of us will be able to continue to share this accurate information, and we have that, of course, and we're all sharing that out ourselves. So that's a little scan of what's going on social media as we continue to await this. Our reporters on the scene did tell us that apparently the governor himself will not be at this particular conference, but all of the other pertinent leaders will be there. They have all been in constant communication all day long. We have two crews there. Our own meteorologist, Brian Hughes, who has been literally back and forth between the river and watching with his own eyes what's going on there. He's also there backing up, and he's doing some live tweeting as well of this, so you can follow us at 13 News here, and of course you can see at Storm Tracker 13 on Twitter as well, guys.
Spencer, so thanks. Still to come here on this special report of the water crisis here on 13 News. We have the very latest on the efforts to restore water to the public.
And right now we're on standby waiting for this conference to begin. This is a live look. We are expecting to get an update on this situation. I know many of you are anxious about this, and we will bring it to you live as it happens. And we continue to follow this water crisis situation. We're waiting on standby right now for a conference that could be happening any moment, and we will bring it to you live as we get it. Let's talk now about where we stand, though. Gary Southern is the president of Freedom Industries. He actually got behind a podium and addressed the public for the first time 24 hours after Governor Tomlin issued a state of emergency. First, Southern apologized in general, really, and then he apologized for taking that long to actually come forward with a statement. Southern said he did not know how the chemical leaked through the container or how it leaked through a second holding device. The official insisted workers inspected these tanks pretty regularly, but he didn't really say how often that happens. Company has moved that chemical, crude MCHM, off the premises. President explains here what needs to be done.
We worked through the night last night to remove all the material from our site. The material is no longer here. It's sitting at another remote location that we have. We've drained the storage tank that was in that had the problem, and we have removed all of the material that is available and that can be vacuumed out of the ground.
The West Virginia DEP is now requiring Freedom Industries to remove the contents of its 11 remaining above-ground storage tanks at the Etowah terminal there. Contents of the plant's remaining 3 tanks, which includes the one that leaked into the Elk River, have already been removed and relocated to another facility.
We've also been monitoring the latest updates from West Virginia American Water. The company's president addressed the concerns over the chemical leak and the impact to the water system during a news conference yesterday afternoon. He answered questions about how he learned about the situation.
How did we find out when it was in the river? Our first point of contact was from the West Virginia DEP.
The West Virginia water crisis is having a huge impact on businesses, as many of them remain closed right now. The Kanawha Charleston Health Department is working on a system to allow businesses to reopen if they submit plans proving that they can operate safely with outside water sources. Water is a key ingredient to many businesses, and at the Charleston Town Center, water contamination closed restaurants and hair salons. And closed businesses that means closed cash drawers.
I am open today because I care about my business today, but we all can sell a drink, but without the food.
Businesses tell us they're worried about losing money and food if they're closed for too long.
Economists at West Virginia University say this chemical leak will have short and long-term effects. Restaurants, hotels, other businesses in this affected area will see the negative side of this, but the water shortage will push people to other hotels and businesses near these areas. And then there's the price the government will have to pay to fix this problem.
In terms of cleanup, just in terms of addressing the crisis, in terms of the emergency efforts they're putting forth, the local governments in the area and the state government will probably both incur what could be a very important cost. And this is a time of very tight budgetary pressures.
Healthcare costs should stay down because policymakers acted fast to ban water use, Tim.
Activists with the Wheeling Water Warriors are watching the chemical spill with piqued interest. They're calling the situation a wake-up call for public officials in West Virginia. The group is concerned about all the fossil fuels and the dangers of extraction. The reason, the threat of a chemical spill and the devastating effects it can have on communities.
I think they need to learn that fossil fuels and extractive industries are dangerous. They can never be made safe. And if you think it's bad when a factory leaks next to a river, imagine a big boat with hundreds of thousands of gallons of this fluid going down.
And that's exactly what they're trying to keep from happening in the Ohio Valley by protesting plans to build a frac water treatment plant just over a mile upstream from the main water supply in Wheeling.
Now, almost 3 years ago, Weirton was under a state of emergency due to a major water main break there, and they were facing a similar situation. Water buffaloes were set up around the city. Residents hustled about town, gathering all the water they could. The local supermarkets, like we're seeing here now. Some residents were without water for 3 to 4 days, but they tell us it doesn't compare to what's happening in Charleston. And continuing with our live coverage of the water crisis, we're going to head back now to Ariel Rothfield, who's following this story, waiting outside of the Capitol for a conference with any kind of update here. Ariel.
That's right, Courtney. I'm outside the Capitol where we are awaiting a press conference. And while we don't know what exactly they are going to announce, we do know representatives from the governor's office, from FEMA, and from West Virginia American Water Company are here. Now, let me tell you what else I know. I do know the West Virginia National Guard has been running hourly tests on the chemical concentration since Thursday night. They tell me a safe level is going to be 1 part per million. Now, yesterday during the press conference, they said the concentration went from 2 to 1.
Everything's set. My name is Amy Schuler Goodwin, and I'm the communications director for Governor Earl Ray Tomlin. Thank you so much for your patience this afternoon. The governor is still in a briefing, but he wanted to pull out quickly some of our team members that will be able to brief you on activities that have gone overnight and where we intend to go today. I want to give you forewarning that we are intending to have another press briefing later on this evening, and we'll let you know, but we're tentatively set for about 9 o'clock this evening. I want to share with you that I have General Hoyer here for the West Virginia National Guard and Jimmy Jeanette, who is our Director of Homeland Security here in West Virginia. I want to mention that we have our Secretary of the Department of Environmental Protection, Randy Huffman, our Secretary for the Department of Health and Human Resources, Karen Bowling, and our Secretary for the Department of Military Affairs and Public Safety, Joe Thornton. President Carper, I know, is here from Kanawha County, as is Dr. Gupta as well from the Health Department. So we have other folks here that will be able to answer questions that you have, and we'll certainly open the floor for that opportunity to happen. We also have representatives from West Virginia American Water as well to field any questions that you may have. So at this time, I'd like to invite General Hoyer to come up and give a beginning briefing. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon. The governor asked that I provide you an update as it related to what we discussed yesterday in the press conference about the process that's being used for the sampling of the system to see what it is that we need to do to bring the system back up. And again, understand that that's a combined decision made by the group with the owner, West Virginia American Water, and the public health folks within DHHR, as well as the team that we've assembled. As I mentioned yesterday, the team's made up of members from the National Guard, Specialized Civil Support Team, Department of Environmental Protection, Office of Environmental Services and Public Health within DHHR, the folks and experts from West Virginia American Water, and other subject matter experts as available. They are following the methodology that was developed to analyze where we are with the system right now. They are currently executing testing. We need to understand that this is a large, and I know Jeff will talk more detail about this, this is a large system, and it requires a significant amount of testing and sampling to ensure that we get the data that's needed for those experts to then to be able to make a decision as to when the system can be brought back into use. The other thing that group is continuing to do is they're looking at a variety of different options, again getting assistance from outside experts as to what possibilities exist to bring certain parts of the system back on at certain periods of time, as well as a phased approach potentially to be able to use water for different activities. Those things are all ongoing, and as soon as we have additional information and updates on that, as Amy said, we will make those things available. At this time, I'll turn it over to Jimmy to cover what we continue to do to prepare for the future.
Since this incident began on Thursday, the governor directed us to be very proactive and try to make sure we could meet whatever the needs were of the citizens of the state. We reached out immediately to FEMA and to other agencies within the federal government. The governor made a request to the president for a federal emergency disaster declaration, which was approved for the 9 counties involved in this event. We've been working with FEMA to bring in logistics support for some of the supplies that we need so that we can supplement the private sector, who we have also been working with, to make sure commodities are available in the stores that people can go out and purchase. We are continuing to bring in additional supplies to supplement that. So far, we brought in 1.4 million liters of water from FEMA that arrived overnight last night. We have an additional 800,000 liters on the way today, and an additional 800,000 liters coming tomorrow. We continue to reach out to the private sector partners and the volunteer agencies. The volunteer agencies, the Red Cross, WOAD, the Salvation Army, have been very responsive in this event and are out currently working with different groups to provide the necessary support. We've been working with the Department of Health and Human Resources to make sure that there are adequate supplies at the hospital so that the medical infrastructure stays in place. And at this point, we still have no issues. and we'll continue to provide whatever resources are needed to move this to a successful conclusion.
If I can just ask very quickly, if you are on the conference call line, if you could mute, just to make sure we don't get any background noise in that. At this time, General and Jimmy will be happy to answer any questions that you have, in particular of some of the state operations that are happening. Bob?
I'm not sure who I should address this to, but it appears they're placing booms in the river today. I don't know whether that's you guys or the private cleanup contractor or what. The boats have Ohio boat licenses on them. Why wouldn't they have done this earlier in the process?
I'm Mike Dorsey, Chief of Homeland Security and Emergency Response at the Department of Environmental Protection. Yeah, there is boom in the river. The material is soluble, at least partially, and yeah, once it gets out in the main body of the river, there's really no hope of catching it. But there is some hope near the shore when it's first coming out of the shoreline. There, you can catch a little bit of it there. You might notice it just boomed completely across the river at one point. That's going to be removed sometime this afternoon. It's kind of pointless. But the stuff near the shore can catch a little bit of it as it comes out of the bank.
So there's no really practical way to get this out of the river except to flush down by more water.
The material that was caught by the ice, when we still have a little bit of ice, we were able to suck that out from under the ice. It was trapped in there. But once it gets into the main body of the river, there's no real way of getting it out. You just have to flush it through.
Will the extra rain, we've had quite a bit of it today, will that help?
I hope so. I think so too.
When you say that you're flushing it through, does the chemical just disappear or dissipate, or where does it go? I mean, what happens to it?
Well, essentially, and this is going to sound a little flip, but it's not. It becomes one with the water. It dissolves, and that's it becomes it just disperses throughout the water column.
Yeah, but it disperses doesn't mean that it becomes inert. It just becomes becomes more dilute.
Yes.
Can you explain, kind of go into when that flushing process is going to begin?
Well, it's occurring in real time. It's happening as the material gets in the river. That which is not caught by the booms gets into the water column and is going down the river. We know that there is no more of the material coming from the leak area itself. There is material that's under the concrete up there. We have a half a dozen sumps, maybe more at this point, with suction hoses on it, keeping the material from getting over the hill and into the river at this point. And to the best of our knowledge, there's no additional material getting into the river.
So you're confident there's no more bleaching of the material whatsoever from that side of the well that's been dug? Any?
I didn't say that because we just don't know. We don't know how much got over, and there's some construction debris, block, etc. that's been knocked over, that's been dumped over there. You could have material in there, and it could continue to leach in small amounts for some time.
I guess the question is, yesterday it was 3 parts per million is what we were being told of what is in the water. What is the safe level? What do we have to dilute it down to?
Well, the CDC is telling us 1 part per million.
Do we have a current level right now?
I don't.
Is it leaching from the riverbank, from the soil, or from the tank?
From the riverbank, from the soil.
Sorry. No, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that West Virginia American Water was also here and happy to answer any of your questions as well.
So I'm not sure if this is an appropriate question for, are there any other water intakes or any other treatment facilities downriver that need to be notified or may be impacted by this?
The next downstream water plant is Huntington, and the water has to go to Point Pleasant, hit the Ohio, then double back.
Say that again.
Huntington.
So it goes, you're saying Huntington, what did you say after that about Point Pleasant?
The Kanawha River goes to Point Pleasant, he meets the Ohio, and then goes back down to Huntington.
So I see, so it's in the Ohio by that point?
Yes.
And would it be totally not a factor by that time?
I don't know. I presume it would be, but I don't know.
So are we talking to anybody at that level to say that this is a possibility? possibility of getting into the Ohio, or it is of getting into the Ohio River?
Yes, the ORSANCO, the Ohio River Sanitation Commission, is involved in this, and plus I had a conference call with the EPA Region 4 regional response team last night at 6 o'clock, that everybody's aware.
As this chemical goes on down the river into other watersheds, could this mean that other areas are going to be affected by this issue right now?
I would think that the dilution factor, if we're saying as of yesterday the high number of 3 at West Virginia American Water on the Elk River, 3 parts per million, by the time that's in the Elk River, by the time you get to the Kanawha River, by the time you get to the Ohio River, I don't see how it could possibly be an issue for anybody downstream. And that was the consensus of my colleagues on the phone call last night.
As a precaution, though, are emergency officials here being in contact with emergency officials downriver?
Yes.
I want to make sure that I have an opportunity to introduce Jeff McIntyre, who has a couple of statements he'd like to read on behalf of West Virginia American Water as well.
Thank you, Amy. Good afternoon. And just so that I don't miss anything, I am going to read much of what I have here. An interagency group consisting of the West Virginia Bureau of Public Health, West Virginia American Water, Army National Guard Civil Services Team, West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection, and other subject matters is working together to make decisions regarding water quality. The U.S. Center for Disease Control's, CDC, and U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, indicate that drinking water is protective of public health at an MCHM level at or below 1 part per million ppm. These agencies do not anticipate any health effects below this level. 4 laboratories have been set up with the standards and methods to measure MCHM so that we can measure those levels in a uniform manner. The Kanawha Valley Water Treatment Plant must consistently produce water samples indicating results at or below this level before the current do not use order is lifted. At this time, there are an inadequate number of sampling results to report. Even when the water produced by the plant meets acceptable levels, extensive testing must be conducted in the distribution system before the do not use order is lifted. And with it in effect, I remind our customers, it's not boil water advisory, do not use, toilet flushing and firefighting use only. An interagency water sample collecting and testing procedure has been established and communicated to all agencies involved. The agencies involved met at 8 this morning to discuss this procedure and reach consensus on a plan for systematic flushing based on hydraulic modeling of the Kanawha Valley water distribution system. Concentric flushing beginning at the center location and moving out to the far ends of the distribution system is expected to take several days, but will not be simultaneous based upon the construction of the system. The timeline may vary based on geographic location, customer demand, and other factors that impact water usage and availability. The Kanawha Valley Water Treatment System is the largest and most complex water system in the state. It has over 100 water storage tanks and more than 1,700 miles of storage.
Mr. McIntyre?
I can take one.
Are you saying that when this thing finally does reach the safe level, it's going to be a matter of days before you'll be able to flush the system out?
I would expect that we are talking days. Our teams are out. We have employees that have worked this system that are extremely knowledgeable of this system are out collecting samples and looking at flushing activities at this time, but we're talking days.
I realize this is a question that's probably for down the road someplace, but customers will be paying for their water and they won't be able to utilize it in the ways that they normally do. Will there be any adjustments to people's bills?
Well, that's a good question. West Virginia American Water is prepared to offer a credit to its residential customers for 1,000 gallons of water, and that's not a number that we just pull out of the air. Most homes, residential homes, have a 40 or 60 gallon hot water tank and probably have about 100 gallons of capacity in there. That's going to need to be flushed. So we're offering a credit that's 10 times that amount to allow customers to flush and evacuate anything that may be in their residence. So that's what we're prepared to do for residential customers.
Yesterday, you said that officials were still trying to figure out an efficient testing method for this chemical. Can you talk a little bit about the testing methods that you have now and what it's showing?
I'm not an expert in the testing methods. The subject matter experts have done that, but the testing method is confirmed and being worked so that all of the labs can test this and provide quantitative results within machine tolerance. That's a term that the chemists use, but it's to make sure that we have the accuracy of the results. We do not have adequate results. You cannot make decisions like this on any one result, and I will not provide any results. We need to look at a body of results before we can make any determination on water quality.
General Hoyer was quoted this morning that the testing numbers are trending down. Is that accurate or not?
I'm not going to make any comment because for us as the water company, we need to see enough sampling and to have a trending and analysis that we can support the water quality decisions.
Ms. McIntyre, let me ask you to back up a second, because the General Hoyer, my understanding is he's talking about testing in the river. You're talking about testing in the system, or are you talking about testing in the intake, everywhere, or both?
Both. I won't speak, but we're testing at the raw water coming into the plant and finished water, and we're taking samples in the distribution system.
Are you using that 1
I'm sorry, I cannot take more.
using that 1 part per million CDC number to determine when you would start flushing?
The interagency group is still discussing water quality and when the lift will be determined, but the CDC has set 1 milligram per liter or ppm limit as the do no harm limit.
Is that after you treat it or at the intake?
The CDC would, it's given to us advice for drinking water.
Right. So that's a number you have to get after you filter the water, or is that the number you have to have outside when you're sucking it out of the river?
All of our water is treated, so for us, it's got to be treated water at that level or below.
Yeah.
You said yesterday during the news conference that it's likely that areas be brought back into zones. Is that still the case when this flushing takes place? One zone might get flushed earlier than...
It's a very large system, so we fully expect that this will be done in zones. We have over 170 different water pressure zones for, not to use the technical term, so it's a very complex system with the mountains that we have here in West Virginia, but we do believe there will be an opportunity to lift the order in zones. What that looks like at this point, I wouldn't speculate.
Yesterday, General Hoyer, you released that the concentration level had dropped to 1.7 parts per million. Are we going to have updates on the specific parts per million in the future? We've got a lot of questions asking about the specifics right now.
As Jeff points out, as the experts tell us, they have the appropriate amount of data sampling to be able to release something that we would be telling you something that's accurate. That at that point, we'll provide that information. But our primary focus right now as this team is to allow this group of experts to go out and sample, and it is across the system as well as at the point. And then once we have that, we'll be able to fully provide you with some information as well as some more specifics on how they develop the methodology.
So that numbers you guys have been giving us, that system-wide?
No, sir. The number that we provided yesterday was the first test of the sampling methodology and what it showed at that point in time.
Have you seen any samples yet at 1 or below?
I don't have that data. We'd have to get data together, and again, as we provide a sample size large enough, because as Jeff points out, if we gave you one sample that said it's below 1, as the experts tell us, until they have appropriate range of trend analysis, then we would be telling you something that would lead people to believe that the system is safe, and it wouldn't be accurate.
Just to clarify, Mr. McIntyre, you said that agencies do not anticipate any health effects if it goes below 1. I think you said that you're still trying to determine if the 1 parts per million level is the level that you want to use, or that you're trying to determine the level when you can turn on the system.
I did use that word, and the guidance from the CDC is that below 1 ppm there is no health risk.
But you said you do not anticipate.
I did say that word, but I'm clarifying for you that the guidance from the CDC is that below 1 ppm there is no health risk.
So even though there's no health risk, in the long term, how long can we anticipate this being in the system? I mean, has it coated all of the lines throughout the entire system? Or do you all expect that with flushing, this chemical will be completely gone?
It's highly water soluble, this component, and I can't tell you with any certainty if it's going to collect on the pipe. Our belief is not, and that with flushing it'll be evacuated from the system.
And maybe this is a question for Dr. Gupta. I'm getting all kinds of tweets, text messages, you name it right now. Questions are, one, when are businesses going to be able to open? When are you going to allow the health department going to allow people to start to open their businesses? When also, or also symptoms, burning of the eyes, also inhaling some of this in the area. What are your concerns? What do you have to say to the people out there?
So I'm Rahul Gupta, Health Officer, Kanawha, Charleston, and Putnam County Health Departments. So the idea about the businesses, as we've heard, this is day 3, and when we talk about several days possibly, we have to worry about not only the contaminant water, but the consequences and the health effects of, again, other things. That means people having enough food in their homes, being able to cook. If not able to cook, then be able to eat out. That in addition to the economic impact. So what we are working on actually in the field right now is a plan to be able to allow businesses to provide us their written alternate plans for potable water. Once those plans are submitted, and they can be submitted 24/7 on a rolling basis to our website, phone call, any way possible in person. We will review those plans. We will approve those plans if they meet the criteria. After that, site visits will have to be done to those locations in order to verify the written sets. At that point, they will be opened. The good news here is that we have begun opening restaurants as of we speaking right now. The health impact wise, obviously, if you followed the advisory that was provided on Thursday and you stop consuming or using the water, you should be okay. For those people, we've had a lot of worried well calls. There have been some calls that people have had some health effects who did consume the water or use it. That included symptomatology of irritation. That includes irritation of the skin, throat, chest, GI tract, which is your stomach. Other than that, and those people, a lot of them, like I said, have been worried well. Second category is the ones that have gone to their emergency room or their physician or their emergency centers, urgent care centers, have been treated and released. A handful have been admitted for observation only. So far as we are monitoring, we're seeing that the health effects and the calls come down from where they were Thursday night or Friday.
Do you and the surrounding counties have the staffing to be able to review those plans for the businesses to reopen? Are you having to call in people from around the state to help you with those and the surrounding counties?
I can guarantee you one thing. Of the 3,000 governmental local public health departments, nobody has the staffing to do what we're trying to do. So it's not an issue of staffing, it's an issue of resource management. How can we best deal with, in a timely manner, with a calm public and businesses to establish what we want to establish in a as much possible scientific manner, but also keeping in mind, number one is the safety and health of our residents.
And as part of this faith, you're basing faith in the businesses that they will do good on their part as well once they submit the plans?
Well, not only faith-basing, but we are going and verifying that faith by having site visits, and then we're going to put those, to reward those, we're going to put them on the website so the folks who want to go and have a hot dinner outside, they'll know exactly which ones to go to. We'll also require them to post that sign on their facilities, say they've been opened by the health department.
Amy, if I could direct a question to you, please.
Yeah, sure. And also, I want to make mention too. I mean, and I know we have a lot of local media around here too. Secretary Karen Bowling too can address some of our other county issues as well. So I just wanted to make sure that you recognize that she was here because we're getting a lot of emails and questions about all of the counties that are affected, not just Kanawha counties. Did you want to provide any sort of a briefing? And I'm happy to answer your question.
just to share some of the most recent updated information and to go along with what Dr. Gupta is saying, we continue to see some individuals do report to emergency rooms with some signs and symptoms, but it's less than 100. We're at 73 right now. So I think that's valid that people are beginning to understand that, if they have signs and symptoms, certainly want you to seek medical attention, but we also want people to understand that, again, if everyone followed the precautions as indicated, like Dr. Gupta talked about, then we believe there'll be less and less people reporting with irritation, eye irritation, nausea, and vomiting. In addition, we've only seen, as reported by the hospitals, 5 patients admitted at 2 hospitals. So that's really a very small number of patients that have been impacted by this. And so just to let everyone know from a health perspective, I think that we are looking at coordinating with all the health departments some calls and information so that, we have the opportunity to share our information with one another and have a strategic plan for when we go back into, our water system comes back in place. We're able to talk about it more geographically, not just specific to a county, but really try to think about it very holistically in terms of how we manage this challenge that we have, but be strategic. Thank you.
Were representatives from Freedom Industries invited to this briefing?
No, they were not. If we,
I know your system obviously is large in West Virginia, you're out of Huntington, and I don't know much about the interconnectivity of this. There's no way that plant can be used to help this area?
That's a good question. We do have an interconnect, but it doesn't have the capacity or size of pipe, and it's actually shut to make sure that we delineate the 2 systems so that we can't have any impact from this system into the Huntington system.
It connects near Culloden somewhere, doesn't it?
Yeah, Culloden is still on the Kanawha side, but that's where the connection is.
We have another viewer question here. Since many sewers are separate lines, will they give credit for flushing?
I can't speak for sewer entities.
Sorry, just to make sure to clarify what I understand about the test results. We're waiting to make sure until you get enough results back or until the team can look at the results before you provide any more information. We just have another clarification as to why we don't have those results.
We have insufficient results to form any kind of conclusion at this point in time.
Sorry, when you say insufficient, I know you said yesterday collecting samples on the hour, every hour. What makes for sufficient results?
Here's the thing that's helpful to understand. We can collect all the samples that we want, but the equipment that we run it through is very sophisticated, and it takes time to run those samples. So we have a lot of samples that we've collected that we've not even yet had the opportunity to run.
So General Hoyer said yesterday it takes 46 minutes for one test?
The initial set of testing when they were developing the methodology and the protocols took 46 minutes. They've reduced that time down. The last number that the experts gave me was around 20 minutes. But as Jeff points out, you've got a large number of samples. Not a lot of labs have, number one, the equipment, and number two, the experts that built this methodology then have to go to the lab and ensure that the equipment is set properly to read this information. So again, I think as Jeff's trying to point out, we've got to get the stream of data tested to be able to let the experts look and then say, this is what we can recommend to the water company, to the public health folks as far as opening this back up.
What makes for a sufficient amount? I guess what I'm trying to say is it sounds like you have a lot of data, you're just kind of waiting to run enough of it through the testing before you report it?
Exactly. I believe that's what Jeff was explaining.
What makes enough?
We'll have to get you, for Jim Hoyer and Jeff McIntyre to tell you would be pointless and meaningless. We need to get you a number from our experts.
So this might be a question for you, Mr. McIntyre. It might be better for Mr. Dorsey. I understand from the press conference yesterday that Freedom Industries is working to determine how much actually spilled out of that tank and got into the river by collecting and removing from their site the chemical itself. Does that have any impact at this point? Do we even need that information from them to know when we can start flushing the system to get people back online?
The key to us knowing when we can move forward is our finished water quality.
So that doesn't really make a difference for you all. Them getting that data to you, you still are going to test the water, and that's what the decision is based on.
That's what the key decision is based upon.
And when you say 3 parts per million in the elk, Are you talking about the same data set that they're talking about? Or is that something?
I was talking about the original number we got yesterday.
Okay. All right.
I want to say we're approaching about 30 minutes. I know you guys have a lot of questions, and I will certainly make available to those who would like some follow-up questions for our team to stay afterwards. But if we could just do a couple more questions, and I want to make sure before we leave we have an opportunity to talk directly to the viewers who are calling and those who are reading the publications, to make sure that we provide them the information they need to pick up supplies and water before we leave. So a couple of quick more questions for the team.
Sir, Bob here again.
Yeah.
WCHS-TV Eyewitness News. Do you know the amount that was spilled at this point now? Have they figured it out by subtracting whatever they recovered and whatever method they were using from what was in the tank?
We have a better estimate than we had yesterday. This is Mike Dorsey, West Virginia DP again. We have a better estimate than we had yesterday. They're now estimating about 7,500 gallons, and that's based on their not only the stick testing of the tank, which is a fairly primitive way of doing this, but they're also doing their weigh tickets from the trucks that were hauling stuff in and hauling the stuff out. So now they're estimating 7,500 gallons.
Do those tanks have any kind of alarm or anything on them that would alert them of a release at that level?
No, they don't.
And are we sure that this started Thursday, if not Wednesday, or even a few days before that? Because there are even some reports that it started well before Wednesday.
We've been talking about that, and we're fairly confident it probably started on Thursday, just simply because of the low odor threshold of this material. The odor threshold of this is 0.1 part per million, and that's low. I think we'd have gotten some more. The people on site would have noticed it, and we'd have gotten odor complaints earlier than that if it had been going on longer.
If the amount of the chemical that's leaked out of the container has gone up, does that mean the amount potentially that went into the river has also changed?
We don't know. If you were around yesterday, we have an X amount that went into the secondary containment, and we don't know what that is. It was sucked out with, among other things, water and other chemicals. So we don't know exactly how much got out of the secondary containment.
A question that we've been seeing a lot, again, from viewers is it okay when you smell that smell? Is it okay to breathe it in? Is it toxic in that form at all?
Yeah, it's apparently not. There is no inhalation limits on the chemical from the information that we got from Eastman, who made the chemical. And if you get close to me, you'll smell it.
There's some question about whether the cold played a role in compromising the structural integrity of the tank, storage tank. Have you found out if that's maybe what caused the hole? And then once the chemical leaked out, how did it move beyond the retaining wall, or was the dike breached?
We're not sure whether the cold had anything to do with it or not. We did have located the hole in the tank.
How big is it?
It's about an inch. It's only, but it got out of the secondary containment. This is an old secondary containment system, and it got out into some of the spaces between blocks. Some of the mortar had failed in the blocks, and it just leaked out through that.
This containment system, though, was known to be faulty, correct?
It's an old system. Let me just say that.
We've also heard.
How long was it known to be faulty?
Don't know. I do know the new company intended to upgrade it.
Previous company or current company?
The current company.
Okay. We've also heard that a well reportedly has been dug on the site, I guess to aid in getting the dirt out of there. Can you comment on a well of any sort?
Well is we have what we call interceptor trenches and sumps. We've dug a number of interceptor trenches, and there are a number of sumps that have been placed around, which are essentially holes in the ground that we lined to collect the material. We've located the areas where we think most of the stuff has left or is leaving, and have put the interceptors in there, and that's what they are. They're just interceptor trenches.
Last night, the governor expressed frustrations with Freedom Industries over lack of communication with his offices. Are you guys experiencing that? Is there cooperation?
There's a great deal more cooperation now than there was early on, and right now we're having excellent communications.
What prompted that change?
Well, it's a serious issue, and it's in everyone's best interest to communicate well.
And Amy, to confirm, we're still going to continue with the state of emergency?
That's correct. That's correct.
Do we know how long that is going to continue?
Right. It'll remain in effect for until everything is resolved. I want to make sure that I get an opportunity because of the amount of calls and emails that we're receiving here in the governor's office and through our state agencies that we have tremendous partners throughout the state of West Virginia who are helping and coming to the aid of those who need it. So thank you to the Red Cross and the West Virginia Oil Grocers and Manufacturers Association. If you need water or supplies, in particular hand sanitizer or baby wipes, you can also go to governor.wv.gov. Governor.wv.gov, or also with your local emergency management station facilities. I want to wrap up after 45 minutes, but again, make the offer. As you break down your equipment, we are more than happy to stay to answer any other questions. And again, if you are not on our communications list and you'd like to be for further updates out of the governor's office or any of our state offices, please see me before you leave. But please anticipate that we'll have another briefing later on this evening. Thank you very much.
All right, you just heard it there, and we're going to actually try to get to Jesse Schaefer, our reporter who was inside this conference. Let's talk about, I mean, we did get some information.
Yeah, some of the information that is really new developments is that there were 7,500 gallons expected to have been leaked into the Elk River, and also they're saying that this could last several more days.
Yeah, we were hearing initially 5,000 gallons of the chemical. Now that it's changed to 7,500. Another kind of interesting thing they said was that they may start saying, hey, you can use your water by zones. So I guess we're just going to have to stand by 9 o'clock, another conference.
And we will bring that to you live right here on WOWK-TV 13. One of the reporters that was in the press conference was Jesse Schaefer. She joins us now live from the state capitol with more. Jesse?
Yeah, guys, a briefing just wrapped up here at the state capitol. Representatives from many agencies here. One agency missing, not invited, we were just learned, is Freedom Industries. No word right now as to why they weren't invited, but the good news is here everybody is saying that they are cooperating right now a lot more than they were. Another new piece of information that we learned here today, initially reports were saying as many as 5,000 gallons of this chemical were leached into the Elk River. Now we know now that it is right around 7,500 gallons. Some more information, we were just told here, experts are still conducting tests on the water samples. They're going to begin a flushing process. The water in the affected areas, it needs to be clear, the water in the affected areas is still not safe to drink according to the current standards. The company says the water will be safe to drink when the contamination is at 1 part per million or less. But even then, extensive testing will need to be done before the do not use order is lifted. The flushing process is going to take several days and will vary as far as it happens. That's based on several factors like need and geographic location. But right now we're going to continue to monitor the situation. We're now live in Charleston. I'm Jesse Schaefer, 13 News, working for you.
All right, and now I'm joined now with West Virginia Attorney General Patrick Morrisey. Thank you for being here today. Obviously, this is a mess of a situation, but one big thing we've been seeing, bottled water and price gouging, and I know you wanted to talk about that today.
Sure. Well, we've seen a number of instances of price gouging, obviously of bottled water. We have been getting a couple reports of 5-gallon jugs of water for $50. We've had cases that are 100% markup. Obviously, we're going to pursue that with a lot of vigor. But one other thing that's very important that we want to alert people to, a lot of the secondary supplies, the silverware, the plates, the handy wipes, the ready-made meals, the microwave meals. Now, as we're getting a couple days into the crisis, we have to be worried about price gouging for those items as well. Okay. The price gouging law applies to all those items too, and we want to send a very firm message. We're not going to tolerate any price gouging on any of those secondary items as well as the water.
Okay, what do you urge people to do then? People who need this stuff.
So what we're suggesting that people do is to get a receipt and then ultimately call our office and then file a complaint. We're going to be acting on these very, very quickly. We have a team of people out around the 9-county area right now. We're doing reviews and we're going to make sure that you're protected. But get your supplies, and then report back to us.
Have you gone to find any of these people yet? Have you found any of these people yet?
We have. We've been out in the 9 counties, and we're trying to do some of the reviews, and we have some instances where people really have been engaging in gouging and bad practices, and then at a point in the very near future, we can begin to announce that once we finish our review.
What kind of penalties could someone face for doing that to people?
They're actually quite severe. You can be subject to a misdemeanor and serve up to 1 year in jail, and then also there could be a penalty under our consumer protection laws as a deceptive act. That could be up to $5,000. This is serious stuff.
And I wanted to ask you too, charities. We've heard a lot of fraudulent charities are out there. Sure. What can people, if people want to help out, do you have any advice for them?
Absolutely. I mean, our office and the Secretary of State's office combined oversee a lot of the charitable institutions in the state. What we always suggest is take a look at the website, identify, make sure that it's a real charity. Right. It's not bogus, someone trying to take your money. That's probably the best thing that you can do right now. And just ask a lot of questions about it to make sure that they're doing the right thing.
All right, thank you very much.
Absolutely, thank you.
All right, and just to recap what we've already learned from the press conference that just took place a few moments ago is that 7,500 gallons has possibly spilled into the Elk River, and that they have told us that they need the water to get to 1 parts per million for it to actually be safe.
Right.
And they are saying that this could last several more days.
Now, I did hear people asking, how much is in the water right now? Well, they're saying there's not enough tests to know, not enough adequate testing right now to be able to give you an answer on that. But we're expecting more answers. They said there's a scheduled conference for 9 o'clock tonight. Hopefully we'll have, some more details from the situation.
All right, that wraps it up for us on this 13 News special report. We'll see you right back here at 6 o'clock as well as at 11 o'clock, and we'll bring you more on our website. Have a great afternoon.